team comprised of successful investors, all with proven track records. And Phil's Gang software is easy to use, painless to navigate, and tells you exactly when to buy, when to sell, when to hold, when to run like hell, even short. Learn about common market mistakes and how to minimize them. You don't have to be a seasoned investor to benefit from Phil's Gang and platform. No matter what level investor you are, my strategies for investing are designed to put you on the path to success. Sign up for the 10-day free trial to see our platform in action. Avoid market pitfalls and start winning with Phil's Gang. Learn more at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Whoa!
Now, here's Phil.
Consumers have been remarkably resilient throughout the uncertainty that's going on.
Resilient. They love that word, don't they? Resilient. Everybody's resilient. We're going to take a look at the resilient. But we're also going, as we're hitting the end of the year, the S&P's up 17%. And I want to take a look at where's that contribution coming from? That's the problem. Is it just a handful of stocks? We're going to take a look at that. Also, we're going to take a look at all the claims at the White House that they're making that we've never seen so many people before at work. I mean, there's more people have jobs now than ever before. Is that true? Gasoline is $1.98. Is that true? Or is it misunderstood? We're going to take a look at all those claims too. But let's start out with the market. So the S&P, as you know, is up 17% for the year. But this is interesting, 401ks. I always talk about 401ks. I always say, I can understand why people buy 401ks because they think of the mass, but 401ks are just terrible. Here's a great example. I always tell my gang members, look, if you don't want to invest in individual stocks, why don't you just buy the S&P? I'm not saying get rid of your 401k, but it outperforms your 401k almost every year. Example, the 401k today is up about 8%. That's terrible. The S&P year to date is up 17%. What are you, nuts? 17%. That's pretty cool. But here's what people don't understand. 60% of that gain came from just 10 stocks. The tech stocks, just 10. Out of 500 stocks, just 10. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, and Google. Now, then you take Amazon, and you take Broadcom, Meta, Tesla, Berkshire, JP Morgan. That's it. And of that 60% I just gave you, 80% comes from just 4 stocks. What are you, nuts? NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, and Google. 4 stocks. So those are the ones you got to look at. Those are the ones you got to see if they're going to start getting hairline cracks. Because once they get the hairline crack, then you know it's over. But think about that. That's just amazing. So the bottom line is that the S&P, we have a return of just 10 stocks contributing. And again, just 10 stocks contributing 60%, and the other 490 stocks are contributing 6.8%. Can you imagine? 490 stocks are only contributing 6.8% to the 17%, and 10 stocks is the rest of it? That's insane. You talk about narrow breath. That's worse than narrow breath. Now remember, when you have narrow breath, it all is telling you that narrow breath will not take your market down. Narrow breath will not cause a crash or a contraction. It won't do it. It doesn't do that, okay? But narrow breath tells you one thing. It gives you a red flag that this market is very, very fragile. And also, when you look at your bond market and you see the bond yields going up, it also tells you something's going on. The market's fragile. Is it the financials? So this narrow breath should be a warning. But no, most people don't even understand that. I mean, they don't. I mean, you got a handful of mega cap stocks doing all this lifting. And the bad part, it creates an illusion. And they play on it, these jibber jabbers on TV, that we have a strong market overall. That's what's dangerous. So people are jumping these stocks, jumping in more today. Oh boy, look at this, is great. The economy's strong. And also it's misleading where it looks like, boy, the market's strong, so that people will make a decision to go do something they otherwise wouldn't have done, whether it's buying a stock or buying something. So, again, don't think because we got this terrible breath that the market could contract or crash because of it. That's not what it does. But when you start getting these hairline cracks, that's the problem. That's what you got to look for, the hairline cracks. And remember, we went through this same narrow breath with the dot-coms. And we went through, and we saw there that the top stocks like Cisco and so forth were just starting to have some cracks. And once you get those cracks started, then it's over. So that's what you have to look at in your leaders. So we got 4 leaders out of 500. I mean, 4, I mean, we got 10, but 4 you have to really watch, okay? And the other thing you should do, and all our gang members do, they know how to sell short. So when you don't know how to sell short and you only know how to buy and go long, that's like having a home with no insurance or a car with no insurance. Your insurance is knowing how to sell short. So especially if you're in your 401k, you can hedge your 401k. Because nothing's going to protect your 401k. It's just going to tank when the time comes. Now everybody says, well, when is that going to be? I don't know. But it's going to happen, there's no question about it. But when it does happen, it's not about when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. It's all about, well, are you prepared when it happens? Do you have the talent to sell short? If you don't, you're screwed. Now, we're starting to hear from the White House a lot of different things, okay? Now, they claim consumers are very, very resilient, right? And again, talking about resilient. I mean, resilient, remember, is misleading because it doesn't mean you're financially well off, not at all. Just like small businesses, they say, oh boy, they're resilient. No, they're not. Small businesses are hanging on by their teeth. Resilience misleading. So, and we're saying, again, another misleading is they're saying, we have more people working today than ever before in history. It's not exactly true. That's misleading too. It's a half truth. Just like being resilient. So, again, the bottom line is as long as the consumer can just hang on by his teeth, okay, keep spending, keep those credit cards going, make your minimum payments, show up for work if you got a job. They call that resilient. Are you nuts? That's resilient? That's insane. That's not resilient. So, again, we have this claim. This is what really I want to move on to the claims, okay? And before I start with the claims again, all this stuff, how everything's wonderful and everything's strong, even if it was true, please learn how to protect yourself. And it's not going to be going to buy some defensive stock like Clorox. Shorting's a wonderful thing. You make more money shorting than going long. Because when you short a stock, stocks go straight down. When you buy a stock, they go up, pull back a little. They go up, pull back a little. So once you learn how to, you got the tools that you know how to go long, you know how to go short, it doesn't matter what the market's going to do. But let's move on. They're claiming, the White House, as you heard, that more people are working today than ever before. But it's a half-truth. Again, it's misleading, just like this resilient. And go ahead and play that cut for me, Willie. I mean,
More people are working right now in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. Think of that.
All right, let's go through that. Now, remember, since the 177,000 job gain that we had in April, there has been little to no jobs. We know he's talking about that. The problem is that when people hear more people are working today than ever before, everyone assumes the economy's strong. It's getting better. We're out of the woods. And the consequences to that, investors, consumers, people will make decisions that they would otherwise wouldn't make. When they hear, oh boy, things are good. So that's very dangerous. So here is why the statement, more people are working today than ever before, is misleading. So first, the claim that more people are working today than ever before, technically you can say it's true, technically. But it's misleading because it ignores percentages. That's the important part. It ignores percentages when they're calculating. As the population grows, the raw number of workers can rise, can go up, even when the economy is weak. We know that. Now, what really matters is the share of people working. That's what matters. If that percentage starts dropping, starts tanking, it means fewer people are participating in the labor market, even though the headline number is bigger. Example, think of it this way here. Imagine you have a town, and you got 1,000 people in that town. 600 people are working. That's 60% employed, right? Okay. So a few years later, the town grows. It's now not 1,000, but 1,200. And you have 600 people, 650 people working instead of 600. Now we know 650 is bigger than 600. But now only 54% are working. So the number went up, but the share went down. So since April, the labor market has essentially stalled. And the federal jobs are down, remember, 271,000. Private jobs are up 87,000. And unemployment has risen from 4% to 4.5%. So again, this is very misleading, and it's all about the percentages. They don't calculate with the percentage. You got to use percentages. So that's what's going on. So when you hear that we have more people working today than ever, it's just not true. Okay, it's a half-truth. I should say it's not true. It's a half-truth. And it's the same thing. Now they're telling us wages, okay, are really, really good. Well, the good news, the White House says wages rose 4.6% from January to where we are today. So take a look at that. Now, that's true on paper, but not in reality. And even if it's true on paper, there's a big catch. The top 10% earners who make $100,000 a year, the middle class who makes $35,000 a year, and the bottom 50% who make $35,000 a year. That's how it's broken down, right? Now, they're all supposed to be doing better. Now, they're saying that manufacturers, the workers, are making $600 or $1,600 more in wages. And they're saying that the construction and mining are making $1,300. However, once you factor in inflation, and a lot of them are working less hours, factor that in too, their hours are getting cut. Remember, you go from full-time to part-time to no time. So the improvement they're talking about when everybody is getting more wages and is growing is negligible. You can't see it. You don't feel it. When you go to the store, do you feel it? No, you say, I don't feel like I'm making more. Especially when you go to the grocery store. Those are going up. So the claim is just not, it's just, again, just wishy-washy. I just wish they would come out and say, since the 177,000 job claims in April, we've had no job growth. Why don't they just tell the truth? 30 seconds. They should just tell the truth, but they're not doing that. So, yeah, more people are working today than ever before, but as I said, there's, that statement is just really misleading, and it's misleading because it ignores percentages. As the population grows, the raw number of workers can rise, and even if the economy's bad. So it's always about the percentage, and that's what they leave out. Put that in is not really true.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
What does it take to be a successful investor in the stock market? Developing your skills and learning from an expert like Phil Grande and philsgang.com.
It doesn't have to be hard or complicated to learn how to invest in stocks properly. It's like anything else. You're going to golf, or you're going to learn how to play tennis, ski. You need to be with someone, learn off of them, one-on-one. Now that can be really expensive, cost thousands of dollars, but I have a program that you can join for 10 days free.
Go to philsgang.com and sign up for a free 10-day trial. Phil Grande has developed tools to teach you how to invest in stocks properly. Not only when to buy stocks, but how to sell stocks short.
85% of people in the market lose money. Get out of that group by just joining Phil's gang.
Now you can learn to invest like a pro with a pro. Phil Grande. Take advantage of this special offer for a free 10-day trial at philsgang.com.
Try it. 10 days free.
That's philsgang.com.
philsgang.com.
Welcome back to the Phil's Gang Radio Show. Want to know more about Phil's Gang? Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264. Now, here's Phil.
Welcome back. When you hear from the White House numbers, and you all say, what? What's he saying? I think a lot of times somebody's giving him the wrong numbers. Here's a great example, gasoline. When I saw this, I said, something's wrong here. Because gasoline, the White House says gasoline was selling for $1.98. Now, I was in that business. I was in the oil business. And I couldn't find anywhere where it's selling for $1. The only place it was selling for $1.98 was on the commodity exchange. That's where you trade it back and forth, wholesale, and And that's not, you don't pay that at the gas pump. So this $1.98 is only if that's the cost on the stock, on the commodity exchange, if you're in there trading, buying gasoline, oil. Well, that's not the retail pump, but they're saying $1.98 retail. Now, I looked up, I did some research on Gas Buddy and PolitiFact. Now, they track 150,000 gas stations, 150,000. They have all the prices, and they confirm, and I checked this 2-3 times, that not one station out of 150,000 has sold gasoline for $1.98. $1.98 since Trump's back in office. But he keeps using that number, $1.98. My guess is someone that didn't know what they were doing just looked in the Wall Street Journal looking at the commodity price and screwed him up. Because it makes him like, makes him out to be a liar, and he's not. He's not. Exaggerate? Yeah. Boy, he can exaggerate, I can tell you that. But he doesn't exaggerate to the point where it's a bold-faced lie, okay? Now, you may disagree with me, but I'm not here to talk politics. But it's for sure 150,000 gas stations around the country, nobody's selling their gas for $1.98. They're selling for $2.30, $2.70, and that's been confirmed. And again, that's the wholesale price. Now remember, that's your commodity price, wholesale price. Once you get that gasoline delivered to you, you got to pay. This is why it hit me when he said $1.98, and I was in the business. I went, that's got to be impossible, because you still got to add on your federal tax, you got to add on your state tax, and you still got to add on, at your store, their expense. That's got to be added in there. So there's no way. But again, I don't think he was misleading. I think he was, again, given the wrong number, because again, when you look, you see $1.98, the number he's using, that's wholesale. So someone gave him a wholesale number. But what I don't like is the fact that they're misleading us as to the strength, okay, of the economy, as to the strength of jobs. Those job numbers are totally wrong. So here's what's happening. If you look at our stock market, we've done terrific this year, because I said in the beginning of the year, and I'll show you right here, I said in the beginning of the year, if you take a look, I said, let's go and buy miners. Now, you can go buy the gold, or you can go buy the stocks, gold stocks, GLD. But I always like buying GDX, because there is such demand for gold by all the central banks, by everybody is after gold. You got to get that out of the ground. And you want to own the company that gets it out of the ground. And that's why I buy the ETF GDX. And look how well we've done with GDX. We started buying GDX early. We started to buy it, I think, in January, the first time we bought it, of 2025. Now, you take a look at GDX here. Look at this. My God. We just knocked the cover off the ball here. Right here, this is where we started right here. I think we started we bought it, started to buy it near May, right here. We had a consolidation. My chart went from a sell to a buy. Look at this, how nice that is. And it turned green, stayed green all the way up. My volume was really good. And then finally, we started to take some profits once it peaked here. We started to see some selling come in. And then, again, we had some weak buying. That's what the red is right here. And then we finally got back to strong buying and a strong upward trend. And that's where we are today. Now, I told my gang members today to make sure they take profits over this weekend or this holiday, because you never know what's going to happen. But we've made a lot of money in gold, GDX, GLD. POS has been incredible for us. And what's going on now? People are rotating out of your tech stocks. Let's talk about the tech stocks and why they're doing that. But you still have people going in there. Year to date, the S&P's up 17%. Let's talk about this. Now, the 401k is only up 8%. And the reason is because they're too diversified. And I said this before. Buffett says about it, you can diversify yourself right into bankruptcy. I mean, being in a 401k is crazy, okay? Because one, when the market goes down, you can't short. You're too diversified. And they're just, everybody gets caught in them because of the match. Now, the S&P 500 is up 17% this year. 60% of that gain comes from 10 stocks, as I told you earlier. But, and of that 60%, 80% comes from just 4. And these are the ones you got to start watching. So let's put them up here, see what's going on. So NVIDIA, okay, is one of our stocks. Or not our, we're shorting it, not long. That's why you got to know how to short. Look at NVIDIA. Right here, beautiful. So NVIDIA has changed right here. So we started to short NVIDIA right back in here. And look at that beautiful downtrend we had. We went from from green to red. So that's NVIDIA. Now let's go and take a look at, so this is one of the ones that are very important. If that starts to crack, these are, again, this is the most 4 crucial stocks. The next one is Apple. Okay, next one is Apple. It's another crucial stock. If we're going to have a correction or crash, you got to follow these because that's where the crash is going to come from. That's where the crack's going to come from. Now, Apple's been showing weakness, right? Now, for a while, it's been going up nicely. We've had a lot of nice pullbacks. And by the way, you buy on these dips on the way up. That's when you have a trend going up. You don't buy on dips on the way down. Okay, and then the other one that you got to watch, okay, is Google. All right, and we got to watch right here. Let's put up Google. And again, Google is another one that's been doing well, okay? And this is the one this has been really performing well. But if that can't make a new high, Google can't make it, this is going to be the big one. If Google can't make a new high, and it's one of the 4 stocks you got to be concerned about, okay? Remember, only 10%, 10 stocks of the 500 contribute to that 17%. And again, this is one of the big ones. So keep your eye on this. And then finally, we got Microsoft. And Microsoft has been really terrible right here, MSFT. And Microsoft, you can see where we shorted a Microsoft, and we had we did a little bit of shorting of this in the beginning, but then we kind of stayed away from it because I wanted to see it break all 3 moving averages so there's no support. When you short, you want to see your stock have no more support. It's not being held up. That's where you get nice short positions, okay? So that's what's going on in the market. So if you look and just compare, if you take Citigroup, look at Citigroup, compare it to NVIDIA. Look at that. If you take a look at Bank of America, look at that. All our banks, and we're in these, the banks are screaming. And Microsoft, look at that. Look how Microsoft is just getting destroyed. JP Morgan, okay, is doing great. Our banks, we're in that one. But look at Oracle. That's been a great short. Look at this great short on Oracle right here. What a great short. Beautiful down. And then what they do to you, they convince you to buy on the dips, on the downtrends. And you doing that, as I explained before, because you're holding up the stocks. They want you, the retail investor, to hold the stocks up so they can get their customers out. So the 5 biggest banks, okay, who have all the institutions, okay, they got to make the money. They need them to get out. The only way they can make sure that the stock market doesn't go down in 20 minutes and crash is they need you to be convinced by what they do is they put up buy recommendation. In other words, there are buy recommendations all the way up, and then when it falls, they don't change the buy to a sell. They keep the buy all the way down. They did that with Enron, remember? And people could understand why is it buy recommendations on the way down when it's collapsing. But notice what happened with Enron. Okay, they got you to buy on every dip, then it'd go up a little bit and fall, go up a little bit and fall. And as a matter of fact, Enron, let's see if I can find it for you here today. Enron is a...
the bottom of your show folder.
Let me see if I can catch this for you. This is where people really get hurt. Right here, I'll show you. Let me get Enron if I can find it. So here it is. Watch this. This is what I'm talking about right here. Okay. So everybody was making money on stage one. That's on the way up. Enron was above all three moving averages. That's where you want to be.
3 minutes.
And then what you're going to do when you're buying on the buy side, okay, you want to be above the three moving averages. And every time it pulls back, you buy. Pulls back, you buy. You buy on every dip. As long as the trend continues to go up, okay? But what happened here is they had buy recommendations all the way up. Buy. And then all of a sudden, it started to break the 200-day moving average. Now, you thought that they were going to have a sell recommendation, wouldn't you? Right? No, they kept the buy recommendation on, kept the buy. And people would just keep buying on the dip. Why? Because they had a buy recommendation. And Kramer and all these guys would tell you to buy on a dip. You're crazy if you don't buy on a dip. So you bought on this dip, you bought on this dip, you bought on this dip. Nobody should have lost money in Enron. Anybody that worked for Enron should have been making a fortune shorting it. But they keep the buy all the way, okay? They have the buy on the upside. They keep the buy on the downside, convince you to keep buying, cost average down, so you're holding the stock up for the 5 biggest brokerage houses so they can get the steel workers out, nurses out, the police union out, concrete union out, and then once they got them out, and the stock Enron went from $90 down to $5, and then went down to $2.50. They did put a sell recommendation.
1 minute.
Now think about that. They put a sell recommendation when the stock had a buy recommendation. Okay, let's say by the time you got it, let's say $25 all the way up to $90. Great. But then when it went from 90 all the way down to, let's use $2, down to, they had buy recommendations. And this is why today people still buy on dips with a trend going down. Our charts will make sure you don't do that, because our charts will turn red. Our charts will even turn yellow first, warning you that the money is starting to come out of your stock and it's going to start going down. So my clients, we don't get caught with this cost average down. We short it. And I'll never forget Kramer during stage 6. That's your panic. Remember, stage 1 is your basing. Stage 2, everybody gets excited. Stage 3, that's where all the FOMOs come in. They're fearful of missing out. They all buy right at the peak, the FOMOs. They all buy right at the peak. And then it starts going down. Then once you hit that stage 4, they're very complacent. They buy into the stocks because it's got to buy. Then finally, stage 5, they're still buying on the way down as the stock's crashing. They're in denial. And then finally it starts collapsing. Stage 6, everybody starts to panic. Go, what should I do? Too late. You should have been shorting since stage 4. So have a great Christmas. And why don't you make it your goal 2026 to learn how to sell short. We'll help you. philsgang.com.
You have been listening to Phil's Gang with your host, Phil Grande, on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Remember to visit Phil's website at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Or call the office, 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
It's up to me.